I'm Renee Washington, and you're watching Ref the District.
Greetings and salutations. Welcome to Ref the District's After the Whistle. I'm Nathan Perry. Of course, we got the Stoner and Trevor here with us. And our guest for today's show, you'll know her as she's a Fox Sports and ESPN journalist. It's Renee Washington. Thank you, Renee, for joining us today.
Thank you guys so much for having me. I'm happy to be here.
Yes, this is awesome.
So, you're pretty big within the fan base. I know a lot of us love you here in the DC area as you've covered most of the large teams that are here. What are you working on right now? What's the big thing in your life?
Yeah, so it is really exciting, and just to see the growth. I've actually been born and raised in New Jersey and playing soccer in the Philadelphia, New Jersey area with the college I went to that Trev is repping today, ironically, LaSalle, coaching at Lehigh. I've always been in that area. And part of what I was trying to do as I have continued to grow in my career is to expand. And the DC market has welcomed me with open arms. And it started off with me actually covering the Mystics. I was fortunate that my first year with them was the year they won a championship. So not a bad start. Then I got added into covering the Wizards, and then the pandemic shut everything down, and I never had a chance to fully be in person for that, but was virtually on Zooms just like everybody else. And even just, recently with the role with covering the Washington football team, I've been fortunate that I've been able to talk around a lot of the major DC sports. I haven't had a chance to fully dive into the Capitals, the Nationals, and, and talk about them as much, but it's been a great experience just to be able to see the growth and to be able to be a part of the DC sports.
Yeah, you came along at a great time because, like you said, all of a sudden we got these championships. We went 20 some years, 25. I don't know how long it was. We went a long time without a championship. You come in and just, we're just going to win championships every year now that you're here. Must be nice to kind of blend right in with championship teams.
It's funny because I've always had that, and I'm not saying this in a cocky way, it's the truth, but I've been a part of a lot of championships as a player, as a coach. And so I even made that joke myself, like, I'm continuing my winning ways as a reporter now too. And even when I started covering the Philadelphia Union and the MLS, they went on to win the Supporter Shield and had an incredible season. I'm like, okay, good luck charm, apparently.
Yeah, that's what you are. Yeah.
Well, let's go back to that. Let's go back to your high school, the Pennington School, where you guys, if I'm not mistaken, and you're going to tell us here, didn't you win a national championship? Maybe that was your sophomore, junior year, maybe something like that? You guys were amazing.
Over a decade ago now, and ironically, I've got homecoming coming up soon, and was just feeling so old now that it's been over a decade I've been out of high school.
Don't go. It's not worth it.
But I was a part of an incredible high school program. We actually were ranked number 1 in the country, and we were undefeated my sophomore year. And we used to participate in different national tournaments at the beginning of every season, which is how we even were always able to keep that ranking. We didn't just play Jersey schools. We travel and play other schools as well, since it was a private school. And honestly, that really opened a lot of doors for me because I was able to play with players that went on to play at UNC and Duke and University of Miami and other big name schools as well, some that are still playing to this day professionally. And it was my first real taste of understanding my potential. I think the hardest part is, as a kid, I was always coached by my dad, and my dad played professional basketball overseas, but he never played soccer. So I had a lot of doubters and critics of like, she's only good because her dad coaches her, and she's not really good. Even though I was, as an attacker, I scored a lot of goals. I got a lot of assists. So to be a part of a team that was on a national level really helped me just have that confidence in myself. Like, I had been playing with the state team. So in soccer, we have, much like the U.S. National team, they have the same thing at the youth level. And I was a part of the state team. I was a part of the regional team. I never made the national team. But I was able to now play with players that were on that same level of being at a national level, I should say, some of the best in soccer. So it allowed me to start realizing, okay, this small town girl that's playing club soccer for her dad, I really can do this, and the sky is the limit. So it just gave me a lot of confidence, and I'm just so excited that I was even able to be a part of such a monumental high school experience, whereas a lot of high school sports are not as great and not as successful, unfortunately.
So we're just going to segue on from high school to college, which I'll have to tell the viewers, I'm not wearing this on purpose. I'm just going to be honest. I got it from a store. I was DJing a wedding.
You're wearing it on purpose, I hope.
Today
I'm
wearing it on purpose. Sorry, but I didn't buy it on purpose for this interview, but I just got it from a store a long time ago. But anyway, 3-time All-American at LaSalle. What made you want to play soccer? Like, because you said your dad was a basketball star. So what motivated you to be on the soccer pitch?
Yeah. Oh, pitch. Very nice.
Yeah, I know, right? That's what I said. Pitch. Nice word.
I play FIFA. I watch soccer. I'm cool.
So it's funny because I always get asked that question of my background in sports, because a lot of people don't know me, which is weird to me, but a lot of people don't know me as Renee the athlete. They just know me as Renee the sports reporter. And I'm like, no. Don't be fooled. I am a tomboy at heart, and my experiences in sports started years ago when I was 4 or 5 years old. My parents both played basketball. I come from a sports family in general. I had an uncle that played in the NFL, a cousin that was a professional boxer. I've got track, basketball, football. Soccer was not a sport anybody in my family was playing, but my parents allowed my siblings and I to play every single sport. I was terrible at softball. I am a good swimmer, but I was not a competition level swimmer. Tennis was kind of cool, but it wasn't for me. And track always gave me anxiety, even though I ended up running it in college. I was never a big fan of track either. So basketball and soccer were always my main sports. And I actually followed in my older sister's footsteps because they played soccer. And I was the younger sister that was jumping into their practice, and we'd play in the yard, in the house. We'd play anywhere we could possibly get a 2-on-1 going, soccer, basketball, racing, whatever it was. We just played all the time. So I was the kid I wasn't going to every party or sleepover or formal or anything. I was running up and down the highway on the soccer field, and then running to basketball practice and AAU and club soccer and school sports. That was my childhood of memories, being with my family, whether I was playing or cheering for my sisters or my brother, since there's 4 of us, and literally just being around sports, and then come home and I'd watch them on TV. I watched the WNBA, I watched the NFL, I watched the NBA, I watched soccer. I remember going to games. So, the transition for me into playing soccer was natural because it was my better sport. I was good at basketball, but I was not nearly as good at basketball as I was at soccer. So when it came time for the recruiting process, I was recruited for soccer and basketball, but I was getting way better offers and better schools for soccer. And I didn't come from a family where my parents could pay. It's plain and simple. I needed a full-time scholarship, especially with a family of, 4 kids. So for me, it ended up being LaSalle, but I was fortunate. I mean, I was recruited by a lot of Big East schools. I was recruited by schools like UConn and Georgetown, and LaSalle was where I ended up because I thought it had the best opportunity for me to just play for 4 years. I just wanted to go somewhere where I knew I could be a part of a team where I would get minutes and be able to contribute. I did not expect the success that I had.
3-time All-American.
Somewhere to play.
Shout out.
Yes. As a 3-time All-American, I didn't even know that was possible. That's the full irony of it. Like, going into college, that was not on my radar. It just was something that I was just playing. I just loved the game. And so for me, it was just, where can I go and just continue to play for 4 years? And that was LaSalle. And it ended up being an incredibly historic 4 years for my team. We made our first NCAA tournament appearances. We won our first conference tournament. We were winning championships year after year. And I was then getting the recognition. I'm still one of the leading scorers and points getters in program history. I just broke all these records I didn't even know were possible. But that's what I always tell people. That experience taught me so much about myself, more than anything else.
Very nice.
So you mentioned, a lot of people know you as the sports reporter and the sports journalist, and not necessarily as this 3-time All-American who made a big name for herself out there at LaSalle. Where was that transition? What was your decision to make the jump from being on the pitch to the one on the sidelines making those calls?
Yeah, no, that's a good question. So when I was in college, I was fully focused on playing soccer professionally. You know, that was my goal. That's what I was looking towards. I actually had a ton of internships, but my degree was in public relations. So they were all in PR marketing. Everything I was doing was geared around PR. I did have a double minor in Spanish and psychology, nothing sports reporting related. But I knew through my experiences in my internships, which now that I look back, don't even know how I had them. The NIL was not around back then, but it's cool. Neither here nor there. But it's okay. I'm past it now. They can't do anything about it now.
That's right.
Yep.
But I realized a lot of what I enjoyed doing and what I didn't enjoy doing. You know, the PR work of content creating. I was editing videos, shooting and editing videos. I was doing social media management. I was having a lot of conversations. I was able to realize what I did like through those experiences and what I didn't like. I did not like being at a desk in an office Monday to Friday, 8 to 5, where every day was the same. I wanted some versatility and just kind of flexibility in the types of work that I was doing. And so actually I had like 7 or 8 internships in college. And through all of them, I realized I don't actually like this. Like, this is actually what I don't want to do. And I remember my junior year telling my roommate at the time, I think I want to be a sports reporter. I was like, I think I want to play professional soccer, be a sports reporter. I was like, I want to write a book. Like, looking back, I was just kind of talking through things. And I was like, but I don't even know how. I was like, I feel like it's too late. I don't have any experiences in this. And I went on. I did get a chance to play professional soccer. Did not continue. I did stop. And I started coaching college soccer. And during that time at Lehigh, the 2 years I was there as a coach, I really just committed to sports reporting. I started freelance writing. I started building up my website, my YouTube channel. I started working with the sports media department of helping to cover games, on everything from shooting highlights, editing content, cable pulling. I was literally doing everything I possibly could.
Wow. Very nice.
I was just learning the industry, honestly. And so when I was given the opportunity as I graduated to either be a first assistant, I was offered a role as a first assistant coach, or an internship. I took the internship.
Wow.
And the internship led to my first job, and it
there we
just kind of
go.
went from there.
Very
Who would
nice.
you say is the most famous person you've ever interviewed? Not necessarily on TV, but you know, if you interviewed him for a written
personally,
story.
your personal, like, yeah.
I don't know, because
big.
That's a tough one, actually. You've stumped me.
Hey.
Stumped me.
Whoa. Stoner the Stumper.
Yeah,
I don't know,
we come
because
with the real goods.
Over the course of the years that I've worked, I've talked to athletes, actors, entertainers.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I've never been there. I have a list of people, and I haven't interviewed any of them yet. So that's more like I've interviewed some really great players, whether it's in the WNBA, the NBA, MLS. But I have my list: Beyonce, Barack Obama, and Michelle. Barack and Michelle. I need to talk to them.
There you
and
go.
LeBron James. And I haven't talked to any of them yet. So I always say, when I talk to any one of those 4 is when I'll know, like, okay, I've made it.
Yeah.
That's the key word already. I mean, you're in Ref the District right now. I think you've made it.
Yeah.
Does it get any bigger than this?
This is it.
I have made it, guys. I'm here. You're right. My bad. It's actually you guys. The most famous people I've
The Mount Rushmore, right here. The 3 of us.
So you've covered multiple sports. You said Wizards, Mystics, soccer. Is there a sport that's harder to cover than another one, or is it all just the same to you?
Oh, yeah. So I have literally covered every single sport, including like hockey, swimming, field hockey, lacrosse. I used to work in professional lacrosse. So my favorite 3 are football, basketball, and soccer. Soccer, of course, as a player, because obviously, enough said. But football and soccer are by far the hardest. And the reason why is very simple. I love all 3 sports, but I cannot stand the fact that you don't know what you're going to have happen weather-wise with football and soccer. You go into an arena, you probably need a light jacket. There may be some air. But I've been at games for football and soccer where it'll be nice out, and the next thing you know, it's pouring, or it's like bleeding and it's freezing, and now you're trying to stand there with your microphone and you're like trying to look decent on camera, and I don't want to be anywhere on camera at that time. So I like, from the content side, that's the easy part, to be honest, of talking about the game and talking about, I do sideline reporting, color commentary, play-by-play, feature stories and hosting shows. That's the easy part. The hard part is all the behind the scenes, the prep work. I've gone into games where I've prepped to do a feature story on a player, and then it's like downpouring, and I can't even hear what they're saying, and it's like, okay, now what? So I think the hardest part is there are less uncontrollables with basketball as with football and soccer, that you really have to be prepared. Keep an umbrella, keep a poncho, keep a backup outfit,
a winter coat. Yep.
No, whatever it is, hand warmers, because you have to expect all of it. So basketball is my front runner for that reason only.
Okay.
To be honest.
Well, you mentioned that you have some experience coaching, and I'll resist the urge to get some coaching tips for my 8-year-old son who's doing soccer. Though he did score I will shout out that he got his first goal over the weekend.
Wow,
so,
congrats.
proud Papa.
Shout out, Gavin.
But on the coaching lane, you do a lot of things. In fact, you had a post just here about giving people tips and stuff, and you have the kind of the planted mentality. Can you go into that a little bit more?
Planted, not buried.
Yeah. Definitely. Well, first of all, shout out to your 8-year-old son.
There we go.
I actually, what a lot of people don't know about me is not only did I coach in college, but I just stopped coaching youth soccer in June. So in everything I was doing, I've coached every year since I was a sophomore in college.
Yeah, you've done everything.
I know, right?
Praise you for your patience and your determination.
Many hats.
Good Lord.
Yeah.
I wear many hats. Many hats. But I just like the way it kept me connected to the game and the youth level, I should say. You know, I always told people there would be a day where eventually I'd have to step away from coaching because my reporting would pick up that I wouldn't be able to do both. But, you know, for me, coaching is the same. It directly aligns with what I try to do as a professional, because it's not just about me. You know, I looking at the players that I've coached over the years, girls, boys, all different ages, all different levels, just to be that positive influence, because I just feel like based on my own experiences and based on what I've seen others go through, there's enough, and this is so cliche and so flowery, but it's the truth. There's enough negativity in this world. I don't have to add to it. So my thing is, if I can use my platform for good, and use my experiences. Like I always tell people, for example, I was terrible at soccer when I started. I used to think I was good. Come to find out, I was awful. My memories are completely different than what reality was. My parents like, no, you actually literally just stood there in the middle of the field and you did nothing. You played with grass. You were just like front row seats, everything. But because there was a mom that every time we would run off the field, she would give us all high fives and say, good job. In my mind, I was the best thing coming. So even when I tell people that, of like, in all seriousness, I started out as the kid standing in the middle of the field. Soccer was not even a rate. I had no idea where I was, to then be a player that was able to be an All-American and do a lot of firsts and break records. So it's not about where you start. It really is about where you finish and how you continue to progress and grow. So my concept of planted, not buried actually is an extension of that. You know, I've always wanted to do and build a legacy that outside of just myself would allow people to connect in a positive way. So the concept is, when we are sometimes going through these challenges in life and these dark spaces where we're not really sure, why is this happening to me? What's going on? What's next for me? I'm putting all this work in. I'm trying to grind and build my career, but I'm not getting the results I want. Is understanding that sometimes you're really just planted like a seed in the ground. And it doesn't make sense right now, but it one day will. As things start to blossom and start to grow, you may realize that what you were hoping for and what you were aspiring for does not even compare to what is you're actually going to step into. So it's understanding that in those moments of confusion, when things aren't going your way, you've actually been planted. You're in the process of growth. You're in the process of growing like a seed in the ground and blossoming into something very beautiful. So I've always tried to live by that concept because, again, I look back over my own experiences and I always tell people the best thing being an All-American showed me was the grind of like, here I was a kid. I was not expected to achieve any of that. I wasn't expected to be a Division I All-American and break records and have scoring, all these different things that I did. That was on no one's radar because I was a kid that was coached by her dad. So the possibilities that you open up when you just change your perspective and your mindset, nothing can really hold you back from what you're expected to do. And so when I look back and I'm like, look, not only did I get there, but I had a lot of times where I was ready to give up. I was miserable. I was crying. I hated soccer. I was struggling. I was dealing with other issues, whether it was being the only Black girl in this space or being someone that was dealing with whatever politics and issues. I was an All-American despite all that was going on around me. So now if I can have that mentality as an adult that fully knows what's going on and fully understands the game, nothing can really stop you.
Unstoppable. Yeah.
So that is what, like, more than just a success. Granted, it's great to be able to tell people, hey, I'm a former 3-time All-American. But for me personally, it showed me all that is possible when you really do not let the distractions block you. You know, setbacks, whether you're getting laid off or you're getting, you're not getting the job that you want. I've been rejected from so many jobs over the years, applied to jobs that now I'm like, I wouldn't even want that job. You know, I look back on opportunities that in the moment I thought I needed and I wanted, but fast forward a year, 2 years, 3 years, I look back and it's like, you know what? They would have been too small for me. I've outgrown that. So it's understanding your growth, and the process of that growth doesn't always make sense, but one day it will all come together.
Yeah,
Let's go. I'm gonna go through a wall right now.
I'm ready to rip somebody's head off, bro. Like,
that was fantastic, man.
I need to drink something after that.
Yeah, dude, that was great.
So Renee,
yeah, go ahead.
I'm sorry.
Trev.
You're from Philly, right? You say you're from Philly, right?
Jersey, but
Jersey. She's a Jersey gal.
So who are your sport teams personally? Who you root for? Are you allowed to root for somebody since you're a sports reporter, or?
Uh-oh. Yeah.
Can I slide off screen? I'm trying to figure out.
You might get some technical difficulties here.
Yeah, you don't have to answer
I can't hear you right now.
Okay, no, it's okay.
What did you say?
Growing up, did you have a team that you liked growing up?
Yeah.
Because honestly, we know you're a fan of our team.
Look, I'll be completely honest with you. I grew up for sports, a Philly sports fan. So we used to go to the Sixers games. We would go to the Charger games. I'd see the Kicks. I'd see all the different sports, Eagles games. So I grew up going to Philly sports. You know, that's that, and just being around it. You know, I wanted to be Allen Iverson. You know, I wanted to, on the WNBA side, of course, since there's no Philly team. I was a Liberty fan. I was also a Mystics fan. Shamika Holtzclaw, and
yes, sir.
You know, I was
Teresa Weatherspoon from the Liberty.
Yeah. Teresa, oh my gosh, yes. So
right.
So now, as I've gotten older, I'm still always appreciative of Philly sports, but I'm actually a LeBron James fan for basketball.
Yeah.
So whatever team LeBron is on is my team, and I am still an Eagles fan. But I always tell people, look, at the end of the day, my fandom as a person is different than my role as a reporter. You know, I am a fan of whoever I am working with. You know, I'm fully cheering for that team. I'm not going to ever let who I like as, you know, personally block who I am professionally.
I was going to say, was that hard to do?
Every team I'm working with is also my team.
Is that hard to do? Was that hard to block off your personal fandom?
Absolutely.
Absolutely. I mean, the way you just said it was like, oh, okay, but nah, it's
not that easy because the thing is, and the unfortunate part is fans can't always separate the two. Like, I can separate the two, but fans cannot. There are some really harsh trolls out there that if you're working with a team or if you're working in an area, let's say even as a news reporter, you are expected to follow all that area's teams. And that's rarely the case. As reporters, we are also people too. And we also have teams that we enjoy. So it is definitely hard of having that balance of supporting your team, but also supporting where you work. So for me, it's always just been a matter of just changing how I go about that. So maybe I'm not as openly tweeting about the Eagles and, oh, I love the Eagles, but just changing the way I'm talking about them. You know, I'm a very private person in general, to be honest. Like, what everybody sees on social media, that's all the professional stuff. I'm not openly talking about every little detail of what I'm doing and where I'm at. And there's creepy people out there in the world. So I've really scaled that back a lot. So typically in general, I'm not openly talking about like, this is my team type of post, but I'll say something like LeBron James is my GOAT. I will openly say that. And that is just an opinion that regardless of how you feel about it, I don't mind sharing it. So that's kind of how I balance it.
There's an
I
age difference too.
I wasn't trying to open this debate that I
hold on.
Well, listen, is he gonna win another ring?
Yeah,
absolutely.
I mean, look at the TV bill. Yeah. Yes, he did build that.
Wait, I'm
He's your-
assuming that Stoner, you're not a LeBron James fan. Is the vibe I'm getting?
Well, I'm like Nathan was saying, is that I'm in a different age group, so I'm a Michael Jordan is the GOAT.
I know.
I mean,
And
Michael Jordan
nobody
is the
will
GOAT. And
ever
I'm way
tell
younger
me
than you,
otherwise.
Stoner. Michael Jordan
Yeah.
is the GOAT.
That's right.
LeBron is third.
I just, to be
Baby
honest,
goat.
I don't even like the comparison of any players because
Right. Thank you.
Sure.
the
I
game
was
has
thinking about
changed
this the other
so
day.
much.
Yes.
Different
looking at
decades,
sports
different-
and the way
yeah,
they
there's a-
evolve. It's
Yes.
you're not really a sports expert if you truly think you can compare one generation to the next generation. It's completely different.
Put
And
Tom
then
Brady in
they're
the
different
90s.
types
He
of
wouldn't be
players
that good.
too. Like Kobe to Jordan is a comparison you can make. LeBron
Yes.
to Jordan to Wilt to Bill.
No, not even close.
Mhm.
You don't watch sports if you're making those kind of comparisons. You don't watch.
Yeah. So I always say, to me, they're both goats. They've changed the game in many ways. But LeBron, like, if I always, my thing is, if I had to pick a team, and you're going to definitely disagree with me, if I had to
can't wait to
pick
hear
a
this.
player to build a team around, I would always pick LeBron for a team.
And that's okay.
That's
I
fair.
pick Wilt.
We can agree
I
to
pick
disagree.
Wilt.
Oh,
I want that 7-footer who can do it all at the center position and build
Will
around
doesn't
that.
get
But
enough.
that's great.
Will doesn't get enough love.
He
he
does.
gets the wrong kind of love. If you know, like what he was known for, which was not
that's
on
true.
the court. So
Oh,
Yeah.
that's also sadly common.
That's true.
Unfortunately, so.
yes,
Well, Renee, it's been a lot of fun, and I want to wrap this up with a question that we like to ask our all of our guests, which is where are you headed? What's the future looking like for you?
Oh wow, what a question.
Yeah, actually, I don't know. No, I do. There have been changes, with me not working with the Washington football team, and then of course with my ESPN work has been picking up, so doing more. I actually got to be in the booth calling a college football game for the first time. That was awesome.
Nice.
Yeah, so not just on
Excellent
the
job.
sideline. I was like, oh, I've been an analyst for other sports, but I haven't actually done it for football. So that was my first. But
That's
got some new content coming. I got some new changes. My show Beyond the Headlines is actually has a big announcement coming soon. I'll just say that, of a major change, and then actually some more personal changes, or professional changes, I should say. So I can't say too much now, clearly,
That's
because that
fine.
was a whole lot of nothing I just shared. But basically,
No,
stay
you've
tuned.
got things coming. You've got things
Things
on
are
your
in the
plate.
works. Look,
Things are in the works.
if you guys don't pick up from anything else from this conversation, I don't sit still. So one day, one thing may change. The next day, I'm moving on.
Yep.
We're moving on.
Very nice.
It's fine. Dust
Continue
myself
growing.
off, and I'm moving on. So
Yep.
that's
I'm
where I'm
glad
at
you-
now. Just figuring out
Glad-
those next.
Glad you sat still with us for a few minutes.
Yeah,
We
that
appreciate
was.
it.
We really do appreciate
This has been
that.
fun too. I've enjoyed this.
Good.
Much
good.
appreciated, Renee. So this has been After the Whistle with Ref the District. Our guest today is Renee Washington of Fox Sports and ESPN reporter. Much thanks. Big shout out to Renee. Thank you
Yes.
for joining us. And until next time, be a fan.
Be a fan.